Interesting background. He has both produced laws and frisbees during his career. And he first visited Siskiyou County in
Your microphone's not on.
He received a Master's of Public Administration degree from USC. Can't hear me?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning, okay.
Please.
We want to thank Angela for her presentation. Everybody look at
To get Andy up here.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to start all over again.
Are you going to have separate containers for the different questions?
No, you can just put on there for Andy or for Angela, or for both, whatever you want.
What if we already put our questions in?
Well, we're not, well, with more pens and paper, we'll let you do another question. Is that what you need to do, another question?
No, but how will you?
Yeah, another question.
Louise, that system
We
doesn't
didn't
work.
do that when you submitted it originally, so how will you know which one is for?
Well, you, well,
He asked about the jail.
yeah, okay. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, let me start all over again. Andy Fusso has produced both laws and frisbees during his career. Andy first visited Siskiyou County in 1974. He received a Master's of Public Administration degree from USC in 1978 and then worked for California legislator at the time of Prop 13. He continued a finance career in the private sector, managing companies in the toy industry. Whammo, you all remember that one? And founding web services and technology ventures. He was part of the finance team that accomplished Dolby Laboratories IPO in 2006, and since then has been an owner or partner in several small businesses and real estate projects in San Francisco and Marin. He currently has a music business management company, serves on the board of the Mount Shasta Bioregional Ecology Center as treasurer, and in 2016, he founded the Siskiyou Forward Movement Political Action Committee, and that's the committee that you can get online and send me questions if you have additional questions. So help me welcome Andy Fusso.
All right. Testing 1, 2, 3. This is what you do in the music business. Try and get the microphone to work. Usually while you're in front of people trying to talk to them. So this is why I never had a music career. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of you inviting me here and having us come and give you some information about all of our issues, Measure H and Measure G. I'm going to talk a little bit about why I oppose the Measure G, which is going to raise a quarter-cent sales tax for a portion of the matching funds for the large expansion of the jail. I was really glad to hear that your group advocates limited government, and it advocates fiscal responsibility, and it advocates adherence to the Constitution, because I think all of those three issues are very much present when we're talking about the jail discussion. We have a massive facility that's eventually going to triple the size of the jail. So that's certainly not limited government. And I'm going to go through some of the financing mechanisms that have been put together to scrape money and bring the jail to you, and not very fiscally responsible. And finally, I think most of the people in this room do remember Prop 13 and Jarvis and Gann. When I worked for the state legislature in 1978, that was the year that Proposition 13 was passed. And then subsequently Prop 218 was passed. And one of the things that those measures did was that they required a 2/3 vote to raise taxes. And that's been the law of the land for many years now. So what is happening, just to start out with really kind of what I think is one of the most outrageous things about Measure G, is that in California, if a local government wishes to raise funds for a specific purpose, and that was what Measure S was in the last election. It was a 2/3 vote requirement to pass Measure S and use those funds specifically for the portion of the matching funds for the jail. Well, that measure failed to achieve even a simple majority. And so our vote's been disrespected, and this has been put back on the ballot. It's like, you haven't voted right, let's let you do it again. I don't know, I may be a little bit too much of a rebel for that. And so what has happened is that there is a technique that local governments have used to get around the Prop 13 and Prop 218 two-thirds vote requirement that was came from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, came from these propositions. And what they did is they said, well, we're going to put two measures on the ballot. One of these is going to be a general tax increase. That means the county, once that's passed, they can use it for anything. And so that's what we've got. It's set up there as a general tax increase. Now, most counties, when they do this technique, will put a second measure on the ballot. That second measure on the ballot will say, okay, we've passed a general tax increase, but we really give you our advice that you should use it for a jail. So you have a ballot measure here, and then an advisory measure here, and that way the law says that can pass by 50%. Well, I was in the supervisors meeting when this was discussed, and they really thought that would confuse you all too much. So this measure actually says in the beginning, we're going to use it for the jail and it's a general tax. So it's kind of like a zebra is a horse kind of a thing on that. I have been in touch with Timothy Biddle, who's the general counsel of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and they don't like it very much. In fact, the quote he sent to me via email was, "This proposal is offensive. Tax elections should not be manipulated by promising the voters a specific purpose while not requiring the two-thirds vote needed." And that's in the handout, which hopefully you all will be able to take home with you. So let's talk about who really benefits from this, because I did have the opportunity with Jail Commander Houston. I thank him for showing me around and giving me a view of the existing jail, which was very enlightening, and it did change a lot of my thinking about what's needed in the county. But one of the things about this that really puzzled me was that when you look at the $37 million, which is, a little short of $1,000 for every man, woman, and child in the county. When you look at $37 million, that works out to $210,000 per bed. That's construction costs. And that works out to 858 square feet. Well, I've constructed some luxury housing in Marin County. Last one I did was 253. Okay, so how can they spend that much money, was my thought. That is just so amazingly expensive. And the light bulb went on when they said, oh, well, this isn't really a state grant. This is lease revenue bond funding. I go, what is that? Because I'm a finance guy. I come from a corporate finance background. I'm a bit of a bean counter. I like to look at the numbers. And so when that came up, I'm going to have to research this a little bit. And what is happening? And this is evidently something that's been used in the past to fund a variety of state facilities. We have a situation where the State Department of Public Works issues lease revenue bonds. Now, what are those? So you want to build an airport, okay? Pilots will land their planes at your airport, and they'll pay you a fee, and you'll have revenue. You'll actually get money that you collect. So this is, okay, well, who's landing their planes? What's going on here? Well, the State Department of Corrections is taking our tax dollars, and they're paying the State Department of Public Works, and the State Department of Public Works is somehow calling it revenue. That's not revenue. That's money we pay in taxes. That comes out of our pockets. And so, oh great, we've got lease revenue bond financing. Whoopee! So, okay, well, where's all this going? Where's the interest rate? Well, it's going straight to Wall Street. And it's the same people that did the leverage buyouts of the timber industry, or that made your home equity disappear back in 2007, 2008. They're at it again. And that's what's going on with this measure. And this is again, me as the bean counter, kind of doing a little bit of digging. And so this is a massive expansion, going from 107 beds to, when the whole plan goes out, 300. Our county's population is declining. So, okay. And fiscally responsible, in order to raise the matching funds this time, in addition to this lease revenue financing scheme, what's also happening is they're taking millions of dollars out of 7 different reserves. They're cracking the piggy bank. They're finding money in every nook and cranny of the county to try and make this be a 1/4 cent instead of a 1/2 cent sales tax increase. And so that's how they're patching this thing together. There is in none of this anything that will provide food for the new prisoners, guards for the new prisoners, transport for the new prisoners. So all of these operating costs, they're telling us, we'll just absorb them, don't worry about them. I'm not sure I believe that. I mean, even if you don't like your prisoners, you gotta feed them a little bit. So that's kind of one of the main things. A lot of this really kind of is to get the state of California out of the pickle. The state's prison population went from 25,000 inmates in 1970 to 162,000 inmates in 2011. At that point, the notably liberal U.S. Supreme Court decided that the conditions in the prisons in which several prisoners a week were dying from medical care violated the Constitution's requirement against cruel and unusual punishment. So at that point, we saw this massive county prison building boom, and so they're offering, they're bulging at the seams. And where are all these state prisoners going to come to? Well, they're going to come to Siskiyou County, and we've seen this before. We saw this in 1987. This is my antique button. This came from. It's very well made because it's 22 years old, and I picked this button up out at a barbecue in opposition of the 1994 prison proposal to put a state prison in Siskiyou County. And so I think all of us voted against that. And I think we've seen that, we can't really necessarily fix our crime problem by just simply warehousing more and more people. We are concerned about crime. Nobody likes crime. I freaking hate criminals. If somebody comes and wants to burglarize my house, I don't like that. All of us feel the same way. We want to have safety and we want to have security. And so we can have a revolving door. We can have a lot more spaces where we can put people. We can make it 180 beds. We can make it 300 beds. We can put every other person in jail, and there'll be a couple of us that will still be working to produce goods and services. But hopefully I'll be one of them, and not one of the others. So I do think that just from a fiscal responsibility thing, this is really a bad deal. It's certainly a bad deal in terms of our approach to criminal justice. We know what the problems are. We have mentally ill people that are being put into prisons and jails, and they're not getting appropriate treatment. Now, whether you like them or not, you got to do something about it. And if you're going to spend a huge amount of money warehousing them, that's money that can't be spent in the community on social workers, on schools, on education, on people who are intervening. There's no drug treatment facility in this county. Are there drug addicts in this county? I think there are. And so we really need to have a criminal justice system that is more than just, okay, we'll lock them up and walk away. That works great for about a week until you let them out. And then you got the same problem again. Again, I'm not in favor of coddling criminals in any way, shape, or form. What I am in favor of is doing something that's effective so that when they do get out, they're not going to be coming for my TV set. And that's just one of the reasons why I'm opposing this. So we can talk about crime. I know what kind of facilities. One gentleman asked me, well, if you're opposed to this, what do you want to do instead? Well, there are some solutions. And one of the people who signed my ballot argument is the mayor of Dunsmuir. And he's quite concerned because every time they need to take someone to Yreka to the county jail, that's probably 3 or 4 hours that officer's off the street. Okay, no matter what it is. So if there's another crime or another incident that's happening while that officer's away, you don't have that resource. So it seems to me that there's a need for a good county jail. The one we've got, no doubt about it, needs to be replaced. And that's, you want to put your hardcore people there, great. That's the place for them. But when we are talking about your ordinary miscreants, the people that are going to get thrown out of that jail either in the morning or in a month, I think we can do better than what we're doing. We can start intervening with those people at our city level, whether it's in Dunsmuir or Fort Jones or Doris or whatever, and we can have some community-based facilities. It'd be nice. How many of you all have ever had a traffic ticket and had to drive 30 miles and take half the day off work so you can go to court? You know, let's have some smaller satellite facilities. Let's have some effective intervention. Let's spend that kind of $37 million. That's a lot of money. That can hire a lot of people. And there's a lot of good people and there's a lot of good programs that you know, do exist. I was fortunate that they did show me their day reporting facility where the inmates are learning how to work, how to be on time. They do lumber, they cut firewood for people. And unfortunately, as good as that program is, it doesn't really have the space for all the people that could really benefit from it. And the mentally ill people, they need some treatment. They don't need to be just warehoused. The existing jail is pretty dismal. I think anybody who spent any time there would end up with some mental problems. If they didn't have them at the beginning. It's just true. So I think we as a community have to take a little bit of a broader view of the crime and a broader view of how we're spending our money. And you know, the state money is not free money. Most of it's going to Wall Street anyway. So do we need this? I don't think so. And so again, I'll be happy to take any kind of questions when you write them out. So thank you so much for bringing it.
If you thought of some questions, we've got